What's up guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, going to be talking about UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Espinal. Really looking forward to this card. It starts at 4 AM my time, so that's really awesome. I'm actually going to be able to get up and watch it before I go to work on a Sunday. But with that being said, tomorrow is going to be a great day as well. We've got Dana White's Contender Series predictions coming out for Dana White's Contender Series coming out next week. So it's really exciting week for me, man. I really can't wait to start talking about Dana White's Contender Series. But let's talk about UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Aspinall. I have struggled to find some good underdogs in this card, but I do have two underdog picks for you guys. But apart from that, enjoy the breakdown. I will be giving you guys reasons as to why I am picking these fighters. So, yeah, I'll see you, see you soon. In the first fight of the night, opening up the prelims, we have Nicholas Dalby taking on Claudio Silva, and I've always been pretty confident in Nicholas Dalby in this one here. It's kind of a battle of two guys that are getting pretty old, not gonna lie. Like, Claudio Silva is almost 40 years old, Nicholas Dalby is almost 38 years old, but Claudio Silva at this point in his career, man, almost at 40 years old, he's really only got one round of cardio, and then after that he gasses out. His only good win recently, I mean, Danny Roberts is a good win, sorry, but his only win recently really has been over Cole Williams, who never made weight at 170 in the UFC, always weighed in at like 176 or 175 and a half. And so that's even like that's an okay win, I guess. But he hasn't really got a good win in about over 3 years now. Lost to James Krause where he gassed out. Lost to Court McGee where he gassed out. I mean, Nicholas Dalby, I feel like is the better striker of the two. I feel like he's also going to look to grapple as well, potentially in some situations. So Claudio Silva, he's going to be trying to get the fight to the mat because he's really good on the ground. He's a really good jiu-jitsu player, but I think Nicholas Dalby is going to outlast him, man. I think Nicholas Dalby is going to get like a late third round finish or maybe a decision win. For Dalby, his last loss was to Tim Means, but Tim Means ain't too bad. He's a veteran of the sport. He's been around for a very long time. He did beat Daniel Rodriguez, which is pretty awesome. No contest loss to Jesse Ronson, but Jesse Ronson was on the sauce. You know what I mean? So yeah, give me Nicholas Dalby to win this one, man. He's getting old, but so is Silva. Dalby decision or even like a late finish is my pick, but I think I'm going to be leaning with the decision side. Nicholas Dalby, pretty big favourite here, but I think for a good reason. I think after the first round, Claudio Silva will gas out and we will see Nicholas Dalby start to take over as the fight goes on. And now moving on to the next fight, Mandy Bolm versus Victoria Leonardo. And I was watching Mandy Bolm's UFC fight against Ariane Lipski last night. I actually watched it twice, and oh my god, Mandy Bolm, she's so hard to watch because like, I think it was AJ from MMA Experts that brought it up. Like she thinks that she's a world class fighter, but she's just not. Like she was fighting in there against Ariana Lipski, and she'd kind of throw something and then do the taunting, like she'd do this, and then she'd smile at her, and then instantly get dropped, and then like she would do like this like shoulder roll, sort of like shoulder guard, but in the middle of the cage when Ariana Lipski is nowhere near her. She did this all the time. Like some weird shoulder roll, like in the middle of the cage. Like, oh my god, like it's so hard to watch because like she thinks she's doing something and she's not. Like she's just getting destroyed. Ariana Lipski dropped her twice in that fight, lit her up pretty badly at the end of the first round as well. Literally just after Mandy Bolm started taunting her, so that was absolutely hilarious. Not gonna lie, but yeah, she's got a reach advantage. She had a reach advantage over Ariana Lipski. Really wasn't able to utilize it, to be fair. She will be the better striker in this matchup against Leonardo, but Mandy Bolm gave up in that fight, In the first round, she was all confident, doing all of her taunting and smiling and stuff, but after Ariana Lipski started to light her up a little bit, she instantly lost all of that confidence and just kind of gave up in the fight. She got dropped a couple of times, and just the confidence was gone. And Victoria Leonardo, yeah, she doesn't have any wins in the UFC, but she's got a pretty good win over Chelsea Hackett, where she was a big underdog. And Liz Tracy, I guess, is like an averagely okay win in Invicta. She did lose to Erin Blanchfield by KO, but I guess that kind of happens when you fight in Blanchfield. But her two losses to really good competition, and Manon Fiorot, I mean, that's going to happen, potentially in a title eliminator in a couple of months' time. Melissa Gatto, a really good prospect, but what does concern me about the Melissa Gatto fight is that she went for two takedowns, and Melissa Gatto was able to defend them both, and we saw how bad Melissa Gatto's takedown defense is against Tracy Cortez, who even I don't really rate super highly anyway, but yeah, I think if Victoria Leonardo is the pick, just because of how laughably bad Mandy Bolm's UFC debut was. I mean, I think if Victoria Leonardo does look for takedowns, she's definitely going to find success there. Mandy Bolm didn't seem to like she's got anything off her back against Ariana Lipski. So if she looks for the takedowns and gets a takedown, then I think she can find success. If she pressures Mandy Bolm, I feel like Mandy Bolm is going to break like she did against Lipski. That's why I'm going for the underdog here. I know Leonardo, like, she's probably not as good of a fighter as Mandy Bolm, and I do understand why people are picking Bolm just because she is the better fighter. But I think Mandy Bolm is going to be pretty easy to break here. I think if Leonardo takes her down a couple of times, Mandy Bolm's not going to want to fight anymore. So give me Leonardo by decision. That's pretty, like, only 20% of people on Tapology are picking that, but after watching Mandy Bolm's UFC debut, man, I just can't take her seriously. I really can't. So yeah, give me Victoria Leonardo to win that one. And now moving on to one of my most confident picks of the card, we've got Jai Herbert versus Kyle Nelson, and yes, Jai Herbert may only be 1-3 in the UFC, but this guy has fought some very high level competition, and he hasn't looked too bad in doing it, you know, like he did lose to Francisco Trinaldo, but Goat Ronaldo, as some people like to call him, you know, Renato Moicano is a pretty special borderline top 15, top 25 sort of prospect. He beat Kama Worthy by KO, and then he got given Ilya Topuria coming up from 145, and he did drop him at some point and almost finished him there with a KO. And he's fighting Kyle Nelson, who hasn't fought for a very long time. He hasn't fought for 2 years. Even then, he got knocked out by Billy Quarantillo. He got finished by Matt Sales. You know, he got knocked out by Diego Ferreira. Like, Jai Herbert's got really good kickboxing. He's got the reach advantage. He has by 6 inches. Kyle Nelson, you know, as I said, he hasn't fought for 2 years. I don't know what he's been doing for 2 years. Like, this is prime, you know what I mean? He's like 29 years old when he went on this hiatus, which doesn't make much sense to me at all. Like, Kyle Nelson could have been fighting, but I don't really know what he's been up to, man. But yeah, I think Jai Herbert's the much better striker in this matchup, and I really do believe that Jai Herbert is going to find the chin of Kyle Nelson and knock him out. And I don't think he's going to struggle too much in doing it. So give me Jai Herbert, and I'm pretty confident in him. I'm like so confident in him. I would actually say maybe you could put a parlay with Jai Herbert in it. I really do believe that he's going to get the knockout on this one here, Jai Herbert. Maybe inside the distance prop. I don't know what that is at all, but he is a pretty big favourite. So if you can get like Jai Herbert just inside the distance at plus money, I feel like that maybe could be a pretty good play. I don't think it would be plus money though at those odds, but I mean, I think Jai Herbert's just a really good play in general. I like him to win. I think he is going to add some value to a parlay, maybe like a 3-fighter parlay or something like that. Put Jai Herbert in it to get some good odds. Now let's just move on to the next fight. And now for the next one, we've got Mohammed Makhachev versus Charles Johnson. And I've seen a lot of mixed opinions here. I've seen a lot of people really high on Charles Johnson, but also super high on Mohammed Makhachev. I've seen some people not so high on Charles Johnson, but really high on Mohammed Makhachev. And I've seen kind of a bit of everything, but I haven't seen anyone picking Charles Johnson to actually win the fight, which is somewhat interesting to me. But I think that Mohammed Makhachev is just such a special prospect. If you guys don't know, I think this guy went like 23-0, 24-0 as an amateur, 2-time world amateur champion. Yeah, 23-0 as I said, and he actually fought some good amateur fighters in there. Like Ryo Yamaguchi is doing his own thing in the pro scene now. But yeah, as I said, 23-0 as an amateur, come in as a pro. He's looked undefeated since then. Beat a guy that was 7-1 when he was 3-0. It's a pretty awesome win. Finished Cody Durden in the first minute. You know what I mean? Like Mohammed Makhachev coming in at minus 500 favourite, and he's not even 22 years old yet. But I think Charles Johnson's going to show up. My pick is Mohammed Makhachev, but Charles Johnson's a really good striker. You know, he has got good wins on the record. Carlos Motta's a good win on the record. So is Yayo Camilo. So is Yuma Horiuchi, who recently fought on Road to UFC. And the undefeated fighter, and Kylie Pangilinan. His last loss was by decision to Brandon Royval, who's in the top 15 right now. So, you know what I mean? Like, Charles Johnson's a good fighter. He fights at Tiger Muay Thai. And he does have a really good boxing base, a good kickboxing base, obviously. But I would say that his boxing is probably the standout of everything. But he does throw a lot of kicks. So I just completely said one thing and then said the other. But the point is, I think that Charles Johnson will be showing kicks. I think that Mohammed Makhachev will be looking for the takedowns. But his striking is not too bad either. But I do think Mohammed Makhachev will eventually be looking to grapple with Charles Johnson, because I think that is definitely his path to victory here. And I am so high on Mohammed Makhachev that I believe that he's this generation's chance at beating John Jones and the youngest title holder, you know, because John Jones was 23 years old when he won the belt over, I think, was it Shogun Rua at the time? And Mohammed Makhaev's not even 22 years old yet, and you know he wins. He fights again before the end of the year. He fights a few times next year against really good ranked opponents. Maybe he could be the one. You know what I mean? I think keep your eye on Mohammed Makhaev. Really special prospect. I am picking him to win. I don't think he wins by decision. I think I've seen MMA Guru pick him to win by decision, but I'm going Makhaev. I will go with submission. I think he's got a good ground game. I think Charles Johnson is eventually going to get a little bit tired out, but the weird thing about Charles Johnson is he's a volume striker. Like, he doesn't necessarily knock guys out. Like, all of his KO wins are kind of towards the very end of the fight, like in the 4th round, the 5th round, over guys that just weren't ready to go. Like 5 rounds, yes, he beat Yoel Camilo in the 2nd round, but you know, 4th round, okay, well, that's boxing, but you know what I mean? Like, he's winning these fights like over a period of 5 rounds. You know what I mean? Over guys that are gassing out. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to one-shot KO Mohammed Makhaev. I mean, we obviously haven't even seen Mohammed Makhaev chin tested because no one's knocked him out, no one's knocked him down, so we don't really know. But yeah, give me Mohammed Makhaev. I'm so high on this guy. I think he's such a good prospect. You know, he's only a little bit older than me. He's older than me by a couple of years, and he's already borderline top 15 fighter. He's been calling out Jeff Molina. I think when he beats Charles Johnson, he's going to call out Jeff Molina, or he's going to call out Tim Elliott again. I think Jeff Molina might be more willing to fight him than Tim Elliott, but we'll see, man. I think we'll see what happens. But I think Mohammed Makhaev versus anyone in the top 15. He's been calling out Tyson Nam as well, but he's not a ranked opponent, so I don't think he's going to call out Tyson Nam on the mic. I think we're going to see a Mohammed Makhaev call out of Jeff Molina or Tim Elliott, or maybe even calls out like Matt Schnell after his crazy fight. I don't know. We'll see what happens, eh? And this has been a very long breakdown. It's been about 4 minutes, but I do love Mohammed Makhaev. I think he's a great prospect. Now, moving on to the next fight, we've got Makwan Amirkhani taking on Jonathan Pearce, and I'm picking Makwan Amirkhani. Let's go, boys. Underdog Makwan Amirkhani season. You know, he slept Mike Grundy with a crazy anaconda choke in the last UFC London, you know, but like the losses that he's had, you know, they're not that bad. Like, he lost to Lerone Murphy, undefeated fighter, Kamala Kirk. Yeah, he's okay, I guess, but like Edson Barboza, you know, like, I mean, and the thing is, like, Jonathan Pearce, it's his most recent fight that stands out to me. It's his most recent fight that does concern me a little bit. You know, he took on Christian Rodriguez. Christian Rodriguez took the fight on about a week's notice. He's a bantamweight moving up a weight class. All of his wins have not been that great. You know, like he's just, no disrespect to Christian Rodriguez, but he's not like the most. He's not like a crazy good prospect. You know what I mean? Like, Jonathan Pearce fought a bantamweight and was competitive in the grappling situations when he was 6 foot as a 145 pounder fighting a bantamweight. It's kind of what I'm saying. Like, he fought a guy that was so much smaller than him, and Christian Rodriguez was having competitive grappling exchanges with Jonathan Pearce. And that scares me, man. Like, you can't be having that when Makwan Amirkhani is a really good grappler, albeit does have a bad gas tank, I will admit. Makwan Amirkhani out of the first round is not the same fighter as he was in the first, but I think Makwan Amirkhani, man, I think if Jonathan Pearce shoots for a takedown, or Makwan Amirkhani shooting for takedowns, and they're in a grappling situation, you know, Jonathan Pearce does tend to make a couple of mistakes every now and then. And I think that's going to be the opportunity for Makwan Amirkhani to snatch that neck and get a choke. And I think that's what he's going to do. I do believe that Makwan Amirkhani, as the underdog, you know, he's so experienced, 24 fights in his career, a lot of submission wins. I think he can submit a guy like Jonathan Pearce. Give me Makwan Amirkhani by submission. It's very interesting. A lot of people are also picking Amirkhani here. Maybe it's because he's the more UK-orientated fighter, you know, like Jonathan Pearce, obviously, from USA. Makwan Amirkhani, Mr. Finland, you know, so maybe he's got the crowd advantage. I think he probably will have the crowd advantage in this one, but yeah, give me Amirkhani by submission. I do believe he should be able to beat Jonathan Pearce and win by choke, some sort of choke submission. Maybe an anaconda choke, you know, that seems to be like his go-to. I'm just going to go with just a choke, you know. I think he should be able to submit Jonathan Pearce in this one here. Moving up the card, we've got not Daniel Wood, we've got Nathaniel Wood fighting Charles Rosa, and I'm picking Nathaniel Wood, but I'm seeing a lot of parlays with Nathaniel Wood in it, and I don't necessarily share that same level of confidence, you know what I mean? But Nathaniel Wood is a very good prospect, you know. I mean, he's almost 29 years old. Like, is he a prospect anymore? 22 fights in, I don't know. I don't think he is a prospect anymore. Maybe we should come up with a different name for him. But anyway, Nathaniel Wood fighting Charles Rosa. I think he should beat Charles Rosa in his move up to 145. But what does concern me though is the size difference. You know, I know Charles Rosa's only 3 foot taller, but you know he's been fighting at 155. Nathaniel Wood's at bantamweight. He took a catchweight bout against Casey Kenny. Pretty dodgy decision, not gonna lie. After I rewatched it, initially I was kind of just looking at the loss, and then I rewatched the fight, and hey, there's a good argument, you know. But John Castaneda, he made John Castaneda his son, and John Castaneda's been doing pretty good things at 135, so that win has aged pretty well, to be fair. But Charles Rosa, you know, he's always going to come to scrap. He's always going to come to ruin your parlay as an underdog. He's always going to look for a submission over guys that he's not really been put in there to win against. You know, like if you want a guy that's going to ruin your parlay, it's probably going to be Charles Rosa. You know, like he come in. You know, he submitted Sean Soriano. He beat Kyle Bokniak. Manny Bermudez. I think he was a underdog in that one. Yes, he was. But yeah, he's here to ruin your parlay. I'm just saying, guys. If someone's gonna ruin your parlay, it will be Charles Rosa. So just be too wary about this. Don't throw down like a ridiculous amount of money, in my opinion, on Wood. I think he probably is a very good parlay piece, as is all of the English fighters. I do think that are picking all English fighters in a parlay actually is a pretty good one. But Nathaniel Wood does kind of stick out to me as a guy I'm like not super confident in, you know, but I think he should win. He's a good grappler. He's a good striker. I mean, Charles Rosa's kind of the same. Like, they're both pretty good. But Nathaniel Wood's size disadvantage to Charles Rosa does concern me. But do I think that Charles Rosa is going to be like good enough to like overpower Nathaniel Wood and all their grappling exchanges and striking exchanges? No, I don't think so. So give me Nathaniel Wood. I do think the fight does go the distance. I think this is a decision fight. Give me Wood to win by decision. I think there was a lot of rambling in that breakdown, so I do apologise. But the point is, Nathaniel Wood is going to win, in my opinion. So now moving on, we've got Mark Diakase taking on Damir Hezvevich, and Mark Diakase turned into Mark Nurmagomedov in his last one against Slava Borshev. I picked Slava Borshev to win that one, and I was so confident in him, man, because I love Vyacheslav Borshev as a prospect, and I thought that Mark Diakase was going to stand and trade, because Mark Diakase, you know, he's a striker, you know, like that's kind of what he does, and he's obviously fallen in love with the wrestling, and that's not a bad thing, you know. It's not a bad thing to fall in love with the wrestling, especially when you're fighting a guy like Damir Hezvevich, where, in my opinion, Mark Diakase's got a very clear striking advantage over Damir Hezvevich. And even then, with the grappling, I think if Mark Diakase looks to grapple, I don't think that Damir Hezvevich is really going to stop him too much either. You know, like what was his last win against? Yancy Medeiros, who's not even in the UFC anymore, got submitted by, well, Moicano is a good prospect. Lost to Giagos, who beats the lower tier, but then ends up fighting like really good guys for some reason. You know, like, I don't know, man. I feel like Damir Hezvevich just hasn't had the most impressive career in the world, you know. But yeah, give me Diakase to win. He probably is one of my most confident picks of the night. So I think if you pair Nathaniel Wood with Mark Diakase, I don't think that's plus money. But maybe if you add someone else on in a three-piece parlay, I think you've got something special there. You know, I think Mark Diakase is one of my most confident picks on the night. He's the much better striker. If he needs to, or even if he wants to, he probably could grapple with Hezvevich as well to secure a round if for some reason it gets close. But Diakase, I'm so confident in. I'm going. Oh, do I pick Diakase KO to be different? I've always thought decision. I've always thought Mark Diakase decision. I'm still gonna ride that, but hopefully he gets a KO, because I feel like that would be a pretty awesome thing for his career to get a KO in England. But hopefully he doesn't just go headhunting as well and gas himself out. That is definitely a point to be made. But yeah, give me Mark Diakase to win by decision, in my opinion. Moving up, we've got Ludovic Klein taking on Mason Jones. Mason Jones, I believe, is the one stepping in on short notice here, and we do have a somewhat similar situation between Mason Jones fought David Onama. David Onama was a featherweight stepping up to 155 on short notice, and Mason Jones beat him, but it was a very competitive fight. But David Onama has turned out to be a pretty impressive and special prospect. Ludovic Klein, a featherweight that I think maybe he was just struggling at the weight class, maybe he was struggling with the weight or something like that, but he did go 1-2 in the UFC as a featherweight, but then he moved up. He fought Devontae Smith in a fight that he clearly won, in my opinion, at 155. And yeah, it looks like maybe he's really going to commit to the 155 weight class, which is somewhat interesting to me at 5'7". He's really not the biggest guy for 155 at all, but we'll see how he can go. But I do believe that Mason Jones should be able to overpower Ludovic Klein in this one here and win a decision. I think maybe on the feet, Ludovic Klein does have something for him, but I don't know. Like, we haven't seen Ludovic Klein carry that kind of the same power as he did at 145. You know, like he knocked out Shane Young. He knocked out a lot of guys in the regional scene as well, but he knocked out Shane Young, a very game fighter out of New Zealand. I don't know if he was City Kickboxing related. I think he fights out of Christchurch, but anyway, the point is Shane Young from New Zealand. You know, he got knocked out in the first rounds, and then since then, you know, he lost to a couple of pretty good guys, but like Nate Landwehr did beat him up a bit. But then he come up, he fought Devontae Smith, who's been known for having no chin, you know what I mean, and he couldn't finish him. So I don't think Ludovic Klein's going to knock out Mason Jones. I think Mason Jones should be able to overpower Ludovic Klein. Maybe not necessarily just in the striking. I think maybe in the grappling, if it gets into those exchanges, Mason Jones should be a lot stronger than Ludovic Klein. So give me Mason Jones to win. I think he's going to win a decision as well in this one here. Moving on, we've got Paul Craig versus Volkan Oezdemir, and I'm picking Volkan Oezdemir. Paul Craig can't keep getting away with it. He just can't keep getting away with it. You know what I mean? Like, this is so crazy to me that he loses fights and then just ends up in a triangle and wins. Like, Nikita Krylov was about to ground and pound him out. And, my god, my Google Chrome, man, is actually annoying me so much. Like, normally I'd just stop recording this, but this is like my 6th time recording this breakdown. I'm getting so frustrated right now. Paul Craig, you know, I mean, money's coming on Paul Craig. Paul Craig's gonna fight for your money. How many times before has he won as an underdog? How many times before has he been losing a fight, ends up in a triangle or some sort of submission and wins the submission? But I'm picking Volkan Oezdemir, and I'm picking Volkan Oezdemir because I feel like people are forgetting. People have forgotten about Volkan, dude. Volkan's something special. You know, like, he was looking pretty good against Yuri Prochazka on the feet. Like, he was tagging him a couple of times in the first before he did admittedly get knocked out. You know, but he's got this split decision win over Rakic, which is controversial, to say the least. But, yeah, like, split decision loss to Dominic Reyes. That's not even that bad. I know Dominic Reyes has lost a couple in a row, but, you know, that's not a bad loss to have. And even before that, when he come into the UFC, knocked out Misha Shirkinov in 28 seconds, knocked out Jimmy Manoa in 22 seconds, you know, and then he did fight Daniel Cormier and lose. But, yeah, the point is, people have forgotten. People are forgetting about Volkan Oezdemir, man. And one thing that I know that Volkan won't do, and I'm going to say it, and he's going to do it and make me look like a complete idiot, and that's Volkan Oezdemir does not want to go to the ground. You know, Volkan Oezdemir is not going to be shooting for takedowns on Paul Craig. Volkan Oezdemir is not going to go down on Paul Craig if Paul Craig pulls guard. You know, like Volkan Oezdemir is going to want to stay at the feet. He's going to want to kickbox. But that's the thing that Paul Craig is, though. Like, he knows he's not the best striker in the world. He knows that, you know, he's not going to be able to hang on the feet with Volkan Oezdemir. He's going to want to get that fight to the grounds. Like, it's when he was fighting Nikita Krylov as well. I kind of felt the same way. It's like, Paul Craig knows he's good at jiu-jitsu, so that's what he sticks to. You know, he's not trying to do something else. He's not a wrestler that's fallen in love with his hands. You know what I mean? Like, Vince Morales, for example. So, yeah, give me Volkan Oezdemir. I think he's going to stay on the feet, use his kickboxing, and I think he's going to knock out Paul Craig or win a decision. I think he's going to defend the takedowns. If Paul Craig looks for takedowns, he's not going to shoot any takedowns himself. He's going to find the KO, or he's going to win a decision. Please don't go to the ground, Volkan, please. Oh, please don't make me look stupid. I feel like Volkan, he has the opportunity to make me look so dumb. But give me Volkan Oezdemir. He's the favourite. I think he's the favourite for a good reason. This video is going to age so poorly if Paul Craig wins. But I feel like I'm on an island here, man. Everyone's picking Paul Craig. I feel like I just can't trust him, you know? Like, he's losing and then he wins. You know, it's like Brian Ortega. I did pick Ortega to beat Yair Rodriguez, but, you Yeah, I just find it hard to trust that, you know what I mean? So yeah, give me Volkanovski to beat Paul Craig. I think he's gonna win on the feet. I think he's gonna defend the takedowns, or even find a knockout. You know, Volkanovski does have heat in the hands. He does have really good kickboxing. He's got really good takedown defense as well. He's not gonna want to go to the ground with Paul Craig, you know. So yeah, give me Volkanovski and by knockout or even a decision. So I think Volkan will win this fight. I'm on an island. He's a favorite, and I'm on the island. Everyone's picking the underdog, which is so interesting to me. But I'm gonna be going with Volkan. You know, I feel like this is the pick that maybe if I change my mind, then Volkan wins. So I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna stick to Volkan on this one here. Moving up the card, we've got Molly McCann taking on Hannah Goldie. And Molly McCann, I feel like, is like almost a minus 500 favourite at the moment. Would I be even correct in saying that? I know that Molly McCann is a massive favourite here, but let me just say something. You know, Molly McCann ain't out here knocking girls out all the time like she did to Luana Carolina, which was so crazy, man. That was absolutely insane. This is a star-making performance for Molly McCann, but yeah, I think Molly McCann wins the fight. I think she wins the fight by decision. But yeah, Hannah Goldie, you know, like I don't know, like plus 300, plus like 350 or whatever she is right now. Maybe she could fight for your money. I don't think she would, because she really isn't that great. Like Molly McCann's a pretty good boxer. You know, she's a good striker in general, but she's more of a boxer. She's more throwing punches like a boxer does, is what I was going to say, and then I stopped myself. But Hannah Goldie, you know, she wasn't looking amazing against Emily Whitmire before she got the armbar. She lost to Diana Belbita, who hasn't really won like recently. I mean, she has, but she hasn't won very well. Miranda Granger ain't that great, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even think Miranda Granger has fought in like 2 years anyway. But yeah, Molly McCann, you know, she won a 2-fight losing streak to Tyler Santos, another bad loss. Lara Fritzen, I don't even know if she's still fighting. But yeah, Jeon Kim and Luana Carolina ain't too bad wins to have on your record. And I think that Hannah Goldie ain't beating Molly McCann, you know what I mean? Molly McCann's going to beat Hannah Goldie. Hannah Goldie will probably shoot for some takedowns, even though she got taken down twice by Emily Whitmire, which ain't a good look to start with, you know what I mean? Like, if Molly McCann wants to get a takedown, she probably can. And on the feet, Molly McCann's going to be a better striker. Molly McCann by decision. Some people picking KO there, but hey man, maybe this ages badly, and maybe Molly McCann does get a knockout, but genuinely, in my opinion, Molly McCann, she ain't out here knocking girls out, you know what I mean? Like, she ain't finishing girls on the feet like she did against Luana Carolina. Like, she's a good striker, but she's really not out here getting crazy KOs. Like, she does have 5 KO wins on her record, but they were much earlier on in her career against, you know, girls that just probably weren't as good of a striker as she was, you know. So that was her first KO in the UFC, you know what I mean? So, I mean, Hannah Goldie, a lower level competition than Jeon Kim and Luana Carolina, in my opinion. I think they both beat her. So, yeah, Molly McCann, I think she really should be able to beat Hannah Goldie. A lot of people putting her in parlays. I really don't like the idea of putting low-level women's MMA in parlays, especially women's flyweight division, which is by far the worst division in the UFC. Like, you've got oh my god, Misha Tate losing to Lauren Murphy. Like, how does that happen? Women's MMA, and then it's from another universe. But give me Molly McCann to win by a decision. Moving on, man, we've got Nikita Krylov taking on Alexander Gustafsson, and hey man, I'm picking Nikita Krylov. I really do believe that he should be able to beat Gustafsson here, which kind of sucks, because if Gustafsson does beat Krylov, they could probably have Alexander Gustafsson headline the UFC card in Sweden. That is rumoured to happen later on this year, but I think Nikita Krylov should beat Alexander Gustafsson. I think even in a kickboxing bout, Nikita Krylov will probably beat Gustafsson at this point, but as I said, like, it's hard to tell, because he hasn't fought at light heavyweight in over 3 years now. He hasn't fought in about 2 years in general. Like, he's taken a lot of time off, and I don't really know what he's going to look like. I think he is going to be a lot slower though than he was in his prime. I think Nikita Krylov is going to be a lot faster on the feet. I think if he wants to, Nikita Krylov is going to get takedowns as well and look to grapple a little bit here. But I think mainly, for the most part, my prediction is that the fight does take place on the feet for most of the time, and he does win the kickboxing exchanges and wins a decision on the feet over Alexander Gustafsson. Gustafsson, man, like, I feel like maybe he wants to look for takedowns. Maybe he wants to at least threaten some grappling situations to beat Krylov here, but he's just, the truth is, he's just not the same fighter he was a few years ago. But his wins have aged so good. Sorry, not so badly, so good. I mean, Glover Teixeira, former light heavyweight champion. Jan Blachowicz, former light heavyweight champion. Like, those are his last few wins, but that was 6 years ago, you know what I mean? He's fought 5 times in 6 years. Nikita Krylov has fought 5 times in 3 years. Like, the activity is just different, man. I do think Krylov is going to win. I think he's going to win a decision. I think he goes all 3 rounds. But I hope Alexander Gustafsson wins. And if he does win, it'll be so good for the UFC, because there is a rumor that the UFC is going to Sweden. And if Alexander Gustafsson wins, you've just got yourself a headliner. Alexander Gustafsson would headline that fight. So yeah, give me that fight night or whatever, or pay-per-view even. But I don't think it will be a pay-per-view. I think it'll be a fight night. And if it is a fight night, then you can put Gustafsson at the top. So give me Gustafsson to win this one, man. And I do believe he should be able to beat Nikita Krylov here. I just said something really stupid. I'm picking Nikita Krylov just to like make sure everyone knows. I think I just said I'm picking Gustafsson. I'm not. I am picking Nikita Krylov, but I don't think it's a fight you should bet on. I'm an idiot, guys. It's not even late. It's 5 o'clock at night, but I just finished work, and yeah, man, I'm gonna pick. I'm picking Krylov. All right. Let's go, man. Moving on, we've got Paddy Pimlet versus Jordan Levitt, and this is a good fight, man. I'm really excited for this fight. Paddy Pimlet is so talked about right now. I mean, this whole fight is talked about because Jordan Levitt, you know, like after he got the decision win over Trey Ogden, he started twerking. Like, and it's just like the kind of thing he does. Like when he I think when he finished Matt Sales, he didn't he like do the splits or something. Like, Jordan Levitt's such a funny guy, man. Like, I just think he's funny, you know. Like, some people tend to hate on him or something. I think that's just a little bit weird. Like, Jordan Levitt's just a personality, man. He's building his brand. He's being himself. I don't really understand why you can hate on that, you know. But yeah, Paddy Pimlet, the same sort of thing. He's building his brand. He's working on himself. He's a funny guy. A lot of people tend to like him. His last loss was the Soren back about 4 years ago, but since then he's looked pretty good. He didn't look amazing against Luigi Vendramini until he got the KO. Same sort of thing. Like, he didn't really look super great against Rodrigo Vargas until he got the submission. Like, I don't know. Paddy Pimlet's just such a hyped up prospect. Yeah, but I feel like maybe it's still taking another performance for me to get sold on the hype train, you know, because I don't believe that at this point. I don't think this Paddy Pimlet makes it to the top 15 or beats anyone that's highly ranked in the top 15 in my opinion, but he should be able to beat Jordan Levitt. I'm picking Paddy Pimlet to win. I think a lot of money is going to come in on Paddy Pimlet, so if you're one of those gamblers that's looking at Levitt as a huge underdog, I recommend you wait, because Paddy Pimlet walked into the fight against Rodrigo Vargas at almost a minus 700 favourite, but it should be noted that Rodrigo Vargas ain't that great, but and he's not in the UFC anymore, and neither is Luigi Vendramini. The two guys that he's beaten in the UFC are not in the UFC anymore, but he's doing the Sean O'Reilly route, man. But Jordan Levitt's not the easiest opponent. Like, he's a good grappler, you know. If Jordan Levitt starts shooting first on Paddy Pimlet and ends up on top, getting control time and working submissions, this and that, maybe Jordan Levitt could have something going, but I just think he's not fast enough on the feet. Paddy Pimlet's too fast on the feet. I think he's too good on the feet as well. Jordan Levitt's striking ain't anything too special. Paddy Pimblet's striking is something somewhat special. You know, he is more of a grappler. Yeah, I think Paddy Pimlet really should get the knockout over Jordan Levitt here. Maybe he looks for a takedown and gets a submission, but it's actually a pretty hard fight for Pimlet. This is his biggest test in the UFC so far. Maybe Levitt just takes him down, grinds him out for 3 rounds. Maybe Levitt picks him up, like he did to, I forgot his name now. What is his name? Matt Wyman. Slams him and he starts twerking on his lifeless body. No, the scenes, man. The scenes. Oh, no. Give me Paddy Pimlet to win by KO. And now moving on, we've got Jack Hermansson taking on Chris Curtis, and what both of these two fighters bring into the cage is experience, man. Like, Jack Hermansson's fought 29 times. This is his 30th fight in his career. Chris Curtis has fought 37 times. This is his 38th fight in his career. Madness to me. Honestly, madness to me, which is so cool. But yeah, Chris Curtis. Let's talk about his last fight because I genuinely do believe that Rodolfo Vieira and Jack Hermansson like versus Chris Curtis is gonna look like a somewhat similar fight. You know what I mean? Like Chris Curtis defended like 20 takedowns. I think he did defend 20 takedowns against Rodolfo Vieira, which I believe is the second most in UFC history, which is pretty crazy. You know what I mean? But yeah, Rodolfo Vieira went 0 for 20 on takedowns about a week and a half ago at the time of recording, 2 weeks ago, at the time of fighting, and yeah, Chris Curtis kind of just boxed him up on the feet for the second and third round, but he did tire quite a bit in the third, and I think that's definitely worth noting that Chris Curtis, he was kind of going and slinging a lot of power shots in the second round and the third round as well, and that kind of tired him out a little bit here, and, after that fight, you would kind of think, you know what, like, let's take a fight in a few months' time, or a couple of months' time or whatever, but let's work on some cardio before that, but unfortunately, he's taken that, well, fortunately actually, because Chris Curtis on short notice is a mythical fighter. But for Chris Curtis, he hasn't had that time to work on the cardio, make the cardio better, you know what I mean, for a 3 round fight against Jack Hermansson. But Chris Curtis, I believe, is going to win this fight. I think he's going to beat Jack Hermansson. I think he's going to beat Jack Hermansson by decision, but I think it might be a little bit scary in the third round for Curtis if he does slow down a little bit here. He's definitely got the power to knock out Hermansson, but I mean, Jack Hermansson, I believe, is ranked like number 8 in the rankings right now. Chris Curtis, I think, is unranked. If not, they're probably going to put him up at like 14 or 15 to make the fight just look a little bit better or more competitive, somewhat. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm picking I'm picking Curtis to win here. But I think Jack Hermansson, he's a very good fighter. Like he did submit Calvin Gastelum very early on in the fight. He did beat Edmund Shabazian by decision. He got beaten on the feet, I believe, from memory. And then he took Edmund Shabazian down in the second and third round and won after that. Lost a split decision to Sean Strickland, which he did lose on the feet. Sean Strickland just looked pretty good on the feet. He didn't look amazing on the feet, but he looks pretty good. And Chris Curtis, I think, is going to do like somewhat of a similar fight like he did against Adolfo Vieira, and also do like a somewhat similar fight as what Sean Strickland did against Jake Hermansson as well. And I think he's going to defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, and just win like a kickboxing match. Maybe he gets the KO. I mean, majority are picking him to get the KO. They're not, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, I think Curtis keeps the fight on the feet. I think he gets a second round KO, or first round KO, or he wins a decision. So just give me Chris Curtis by decision or KO. I'm more leaning the decision, but he could get a knockout over Jack Hermansson here, because Jack Hermansson has been knocked out a few times in his career. Like recently, he was knocked out by Jared Cannonier, but that's a different level of power. He was knocked out earlier on his career as well. I believe he was knocked out on the regional scene, and he was knocked out by Thiago Santos. Different level of power, you know what I mean? And he was submitted on the regional scene. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I believe Chris Curtis is going to win by decision or knockout on this one here. Give me Chris Curtis. And now the main event of the evening, and what a great main event it is. We've got two guys that are pretty young for the heavyweight division. You've got Curtis Blaydes versus Tom Aspinall. Curtis Blaydes, was once looked at as potentially the future of the heavyweight division when he was a lot younger and coming up. And Tom Aspinall is what I would say is probably looked at now as the future of the heavyweight division, because he's young and coming up. So it's two guys that are somewhat young for the heavyweight division clashing at the top of the rankings, which is awesome. I think Tom Aspinall does get it done, by the way. But one thing I'm going to bring up is this is Curtis Blaydes' first time being an underdog in his entire UFC career. He was a favorite over all of these opponents that he was fighting, including over him. He was a favourite to beat Ngannou the first time. He was a favourite to beat Ngannou the second time. You know what I mean? Like, let's have a look here. He was the favourite to beat Overeem. He was the favourite to beat Ngannou, and he was the favourite to beat Ngannou the first time as well. So he was the favourite to beat all of these guys. He was a big favourite over Derek Lewis. He was the favourite over Rosenstrike, favourite over Dalkaus. Yeah, anyway, the point is, this is Curtis Blaydes' first time being an underdog in his whole UFC career, which is so crazy to think about, if you do think about it. But, yeah, Tom Aspinall's just that special of a prospect, man. Like, you watch the fight against Volkov. He's so fast on the feet with his boxing. You know, and he finished Espinal in the first round. He submitted Andrzejowski in the second round, like destroyed Jake Collier and Alan Badeau. Like, you don't really see anyone else doing what he's doing right now in the heavyweight division, and this is something so crazy to me, man. That Tom Espinal's just doing something special, man. He really is a special prospect at 29 years old in the heavyweight division, taking on Curtis Blaydes, who is still somewhat a special prospect, but you watch him on the feet against Chris Dalkaus. Like, what would Tom Espinal do to Chris Dalkaus on the feet? He would probably finish him within 2 minutes, you know? Like, Tom Espinal on the feet is something so special, and everyone keeps going on about his jiu-jitsu black belt and his jiu-jitsu this, jiu-jitsu that. I don't really want to hear any of that, to be honest, because I think Tom Espinal's going to box up Curtis Blaydes. I don't really know if we're going to see a takedown out of Espinal, but maybe that could be a pretty smart game plan, because Curtis Blaydes, you know, when you're such a dominant wrestler and you're always on top, maybe you're not used to getting put on bottom, you know. So maybe Tom Espinal could do something there. Maybe we could see his jiu-jitsu black belt that everyone seems to want to bring up. But yeah, man, I'm just more concerned about how good Tom Espinal's boxing is, how fast he is on the feet, just how good he is in general, you know what I mean? But yeah, Curtis Blaydes, he's a special prospect as well. Like, he's got really good wrestling. He does have a path to victory over Tom Espinal, like a ground and pound KO or a decision. But I don't see him knocking out Tom Espinal on the feet, in my opinion. I know he's got that power, but he's not fast. He's not fast like Tom Espinal is. You know, Tom Espinal is so fast just in general. It's incredible. He's so fast for a heavyweight. I think he's going to be too fast for Curtis Blaydes to knock out on the feet. I think he's going to potentially look for a takedown as well, but I think we're going to see a finish for Espinal early on, like in the first or the second round. Like, how many times do I have to say it, man? Espinal's a special prospect, and I really do like the look of him moving forward, but yeah, maybe after this, maybe he calls out. I know he's already got a fight booked, but maybe he calls out Tai Tuivasa. I think Tom Espinal versus Tai Tuivasa is a very winnable matchup for Espinal and would be a star-making performance. A win over Curtis Blaydes would potentially be a star-making performance. I think he's already had it, though, with the Volkov fight, headlining UFC London last time, but he's headlining him again against Curtis Blaydes, was a really good fighter, but I think like Tom Espinal versus Tuivasa would be something special, you know what I mean? But Tuivasa's got a fight booked in France. What do you even do with Espinal now? Because all of the top guys are booked against each other. Garn is booked with Tuivasa. Tom Espinal is not going to want to wait for them to fight and then recover and then do a training camp, so yeah, who was there to give Espinal after this? Yeah, crazy. I'm trying to think, actually, but there's not really any options. So yeah, give me Espinal. I think he's going to win, man. I think he's going to beat Curtis Blaydes. I think he's going to win by KO. I'm pretty confident in it, too. Like, a lot of people, like, people that got Espinal at plus money, that's greasy. It's a greasy bet. You know what I mean? I like Espinal. I do believe he's going to win. I do see people picking Blaydes. I can't agree with it, dude. I mean, I can agree with it, like, I can understand, but it's just not my pick. You know, I believe Espinal is going to win this one here. I mean, he's really only lost one fight. Like, one of his losses is to a no contest, but I know that Espinal talked about this no contest, whereas at this one here, yeah, over at Bama, he talked about this, and this was not an illegal 12-6 elbow. He was talking about it, but he did lose to Stuart Austin, who's not looking great now, but at one point, you know, he was a good fighter at one point, you know, like he's just a punching bag for PFL now. Like, he just gets KO'd all the time. I kind of feel bad for Stuart Austin, but yeah, we're getting sidetracked, man. But yeah, let's move on. That's the end of the video, actually. That's me moving on. So I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this card. Starts at 4 a.m. I will see you guys. I'm not going to be live streaming because I do have work that day, but I'm really excited and looking forward to getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning. I'll probably wake up at 4:30 because they mess around like for a very long time before the fights actually start. So I think I'll get up at 4:30 and watch the fights from there. But as always, I'll see you in the next one. Really can't wait for it. It's going to be Dana White's Contender Series, so I'll see you then.